say this. Or you want to do retail there, and then you do the rest?
Sure.
And then I'll go to from there?
Yeah. We got this. So you do the history, I'll do the bank.
Yes. I can't see anything. Good evening. Awesome. This has never worked for me before. I can't really see anyone because there's a spotlight right there. Welcome to our 4th annual African American Studies Spring Event. I'm Christian Pinnon.
And I am Christy Melanson.
Together, we co-direct the African American Studies program here at Mississippi College. As English and history professors, we believe that history is worth the hype. As evidence, here we are tonight celebrating MC's bicentennial. And first, I wanted to give you quite a bit as professional courtesy, a little bit of a history lesson here. In August of 1970, Mississippi College's first African American alumni graduated. Mabel Louisa Pittman and Ollie Brown Shirley, both graduate students. 4 years later, in 1974, Mary Watson, Geraldine Turner, and Sammy Blackman were among the first black undergraduates to receive a Mississippi College diploma. 1 year later, in 1975, Kevin Holmes, Willie Price, Linda Hodge Tolliver, and Jenny Drake were members of the second graduating class of African American students. In 1978, Ellis Liddell chartered the BSA Plus with members such as Larry Myricks and J.B. Brown. The Black Student Association Plus encouraged academic excellence, sponsored social events of cultural interest, promoted the atmosphere, an atmosphere of cooperation, of exchange, and stimulated an awareness of the black heritage. 40 years later, in 2018, Anthony Jackson was elected the first black president of MC Student Government Association, and in 2019, Cameron Johnson chartered the Multicultural Association to connect and represent all cultures at MC. The African American Studies minor was approved in the fall of 2021 to appear in the fall 2022 academic catalog. And Cameron Johnson is our first graduate with that minor.
So we are here tonight to celebrate these MC stories. And for the hype part, aside from the history, we have to first share our gratitude with the many individuals and campus offices that have helped to make tonight possible. So first and foremost, our bicentennial co-chair, and now friend Ellis Liddell, all of our panelists and meet and greet guests, Dr. Jim Turcotte, the Faxtons and the Institute for Southern Storytelling, Lori Bobo, Anna Porter Maddox, and Brandon Buxton from Event Services, Autumn Norman, Jonathan Dacus, and Daniel White from the Department of English and Philosophy, Ben Ivey, Lainey Bradford, and Mandy Berdami from the Art Department, Jake Donald, Katrina Pace, Mandy Martin, and the student ambassadors from the MC Foundation, Damian Thomas and the Multicultural Student Association, Campus Security, and our AAS donors, Justin May, Glenn Taylor, and Dr. Kevin Ivey. And most importantly, we want to thank MC's African American alumni for their contributions to our 200 years of academic excellence and commitment to the cause of Christ, the Son of God who made all of us in his image and calls us to love our neighbor. Tonight we celebrate a body of Christ that offers community across differences. And now we are excited to start our program with a video from the Real Hype Master and Communications Professor, Madison Dean, before we bring Dr. Blake Thompson to the stage to introduce tonight's moderator.
I have with me today Mr. Ellis Liddell, who is a recent graduate of Mississippi College and a trackman and athlete while in school here.
Talk about making a name for yourself and Mississippi College. Larry Myricks is in the Hall of Fame. Fuse with Maggie Wade.
I present to you the Honorable Regina Schofield.
We have a special guest today, quarterback of Mississippi College and Chief of Staff, Mr. Aaron Giza.
My name is Cameron Johnson. I am a class of 2022 graduate from Mississippi College. I graduated here with a math degree.
So my wish for Mississippi College is that openness doesn't cease. They continue to reach out for people from all over the world because we are indeed stronger together.
It's so easy to do things that you really love to do, and if you're blessed enough to be good at it, then that's just icing on the cake.
It has been such an amazing and wonderful journey, and I'm thankful. And I say it over and over again, I can count the years, but I can't count the many blessings.
Throughout my career in DC, I worked with 4 federal government agencies. I know that there are children someplace in this country that's suffering, so it's my job to get up every day and to participate in an organization that makes sure that that child will have somebody that's advocating for them.
One thing I think about playing a quarterback position is that it helps outside of football. Sometimes you got to take role, and sometimes you got to take responsibility for things that aren't your fault, and that happens in life.
Started an organization on campus called the Multicultural Student Association, and that was an organization that really promoted diversity and inclusion, all of these things on campus. First Black History show that was done here, directed and produced by me. I'm the first African American woman in the Hall of Fame here at UC.
You've been a great asset to Mississippi College, and we hope that Mississippi College has helped you. We wish you the very best of luck in all that you do from now on.
When you're reading about Mississippi College, it doesn't say Mississippi College, it says small Mississippi College.
Wouldn't do a thing different. It was an amazing experience.
And we're just so thankful for Maggie Wade, and we're honored that she's now a Mississippi College alum.
I want to remind you again that today is just the beginning. The journey ahead will be challenging, but I have no doubt that every one of you has potential to achieve great things.
A lot of the things I've been able to do have been because Mississippi College has created the opportunities, so I'm just grateful to attend an institution where those opportunities are presented to me, and all the constant love and support from everybody here. It's just been great.
Black history to me is just me. When I look in the mirror, I see Black history, and somebody's gonna look back one day and be like, oh my gosh, this is Cameron Johnson, and she's probably in history books doing something that nobody else has done before.
Thank you. I'm Blake Thompson. I am the president of Mississippi College. I'm thankful to serve as president here. My only real role this evening is to introduce Ellis Liddell, who will introduce everyone else. But I'm the president, and I'm going to take a minute. And I'm going to say something about this panel as well. I love each and every one of them as if they're my brothers and my sisters. Y'all have to know one of them greeted me 25 years ago in Washington, D.C. when I showed up by myself, actually. My wife didn't even go with me to start off with. One of them showed up and welcomed me in a foreign land and helped me succeed. One of them was my student body president, and we worked through tremendous issues together. One of them answers my call every time I have a crisis or a public relations issue. She's never failed to answer the call. And then the last one ran my life for about 2 years. Cam worked in my office, and she's still the only graduate with a picture hanging in the president's office at Mississippi College. I love this panel. I'm so thankful. I'm actually thankful for an ice storm that caused us to change and rearrange some of our things. Undoubtedly, a number of you are able to be here tonight because we rescheduled this evening, and I'm so thankful that you'll get to take part and see why I love the folks on this panel so much. So I'm not supposed to introduce them, but I had to reference them, and I had to tell you how much they mean to me. Now, my real job tonight is to introduce Ellis Liddell. First, I want to thank Ellis and Teresa for their leadership, for their co-chairing of this bicentennial. All that we've celebrated today and tonight and tomorrow, they have been at the forefront of. And I'm so grateful for their willingness to take on that leadership role and that challenge. Ellis, I hope you've been proud so far. And I know we've got more to be proud of tonight. I will tell you there are more events going on tonight, and there will be folks who come and go and come in and out, and I'll go and I'll accept an award from the Clinton Chamber of Commerce in recognition of our bicentennial, and the fans are filling up the Coliseum now for a basketball game, and we had a birthday party today, and we took a picture in front of Provine Chapel, and I could go on and on and on. But tonight's event is the one that's going to bring tears to my eyes, because it really does signify where we've been, but also where we're going. And Ellis, thank you so much for your leadership in doing this. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Ellis. He, the oldest of 10 kids, he was a scholar and an athlete who got recruited to Mississippi College by a guy named Joe Walker. And Ellis, I couldn't remember if Joe had actually recruited you or just coached you for a few years. He recruited you, and at some point he said he knew you were going to be incredibly successful. He didn't know if that was going to be in track or in business or in education or in life, but he knew you were going to be successful. Joe Walker's premonition about Ellis Liddell has absolutely come true. He has been successful in everything that he has done. I won't try to read all of his accolades. I'll tell you, he is the president of ELE Wealth Management, which I think are your initials. He has built a legacy with that company and is now passing that legacy along. But let me tell you, he has had a career's worth of recognitions and awards. Listen at some of these things that have been said about him. He has been recognized as the top insurance agency in a major national corporation. He has been the top producer in a different multinational corporation, and he has won an award that says Entrepreneur of the Year. He has been quoted and published in places like the Detroit Free Press, Public Broadcasting System, Bermuda Times, that's an interesting one, and he even has a key to the city of Greenville, South Carolina. Now, Ellis, I'm going to work on a key to Clinton, Mississippi for you. On one of our future visits, you will get a key to Clinton, Mississippi. But let me say, most importantly, what I've learned from Ellis Liddell is that he operates off a set of values. And Ellis, I trust that some of these values were instilled in you before you got to MC, but also during your time here. And you've taken them and used them. And I can't wait for this audience to hear you use them tonight. Let me just call out two of those. Two that I have heard him talk about, and I've read about, and I share. One, he'll say to you that God empowers those who take initiative. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. Ellis, thank you for taking the initiative to lead our bicentennial and to lead tonight's event. And then in his business, he has a mantra that says, wealth is our legacy, and we're to pass it on. If I can steal that phrase tonight, Ellis, you're passing on a legacy, and I'm so grateful for that. Please join me in welcoming Ellis Liddell to the stage.
Good evening. The panel will tell you that it's going to be hard for us to overcome the hype. That was a great, Anthony, thank you. That was a great hype video. Whoever put that together, phenomenal. Good evening. Thanks for coming. This was a vision. I was asked by Christy and Kristen if I would speak for the African Studies Department. And one of the things that I told Dr. Thompson was, I'll be a co-host on the committee, the Bicentennial Committee, only if you agree to one thing. There's nothing I can do about the last 200 years, but we can influence the next 200. If you allow me to do that, happy to serve. And before I go too far, Jenny and Jim, Dr. Turcotte, where are you? Jenny, in the middle. Thank you for your friendship. When we were in college, we didn't get a chance to really hang out together. But ever since that, when they called me almost a year ago, asked if I would be a part of the committee for the Bicentennial, his wife and he have been a gracious host. They took us out to dinner, made sure that everything was good, called me and just made sure everything was great. Now, you get spoiled a little bit. I've gone in rooms where I was the only African American in the room. And I got tired of that. So I started taking my staff with me everywhere I went. Yeah, people would say, you must be with Ellis Liddell. And that was okay, because I was like, okay, if I'm going to be the only person in a room of color, I'm going to take some folks with me. And for 20 plus years, is exactly what I did. I had no problem sharing the wealth. None. But nobody gets here by themselves. So let me tell you about 3 ordinary Joes. Joe Walker, who recruited me. Joe Walker didn't recruit me because I was a great athlete in Mississippi, won everything. No, he recruited me because I went to his high school. That was it. I went to his high school, and he had never recruited anybody from his high school. He said, whoa, there's a kid that just won state from Utica. Let me recruit him. And I have a friend in the audience who was probably the second best hurler in high school, James Trimble. Where are you, Trimble? Stand up, Trimble. Let them see you. And there's a picture of James Trimble and I. I'm going over the hurdle like this. He's going over the hurdle like that. And we look like mirror images coming over that last hurdle to finish the race, to qualify for the championships. And thank you, Trimble. So it all comes down to ordinary Joes. So Joe Walker recruited me. When we won conference, and Coach Snyder's in here, so Coach, I'm happy when I talked to you earlier today that you confirmed that you have won 3 GovSoft championships. But James Trimble and I, Larry Myers, and a couple other people won 3 GovSoft championships while we were here. So I'm really proud of that moment. And until a few years ago, my name was still on the 4x400 meter relay record-setting time. And then Coach Snyder came in and had a few great athletes. He still does. And they just erased the little record out the books. But it stood for 40 years. Yeah. So, and records are made to be what? Exactly. So, ordinary Joe Walker recruited me because he wanted me to come. We won conference by 1 point my freshman year. I scored 1 point. So in my mind, I made the difference. We didn't win the second year because Olympian Larry Myers was hurt. He broke his ankle on his last warm-up jump at the Olympic Games in Montreal. And he set out that year, and we had a good year, but we didn't come in first. But he was healthy in 78. And we won again by 10 points. And Lee, I scored 10 points. Now, mind you, Larry scored 30-some points, but, you know, so, and then we won it again in 1979, my senior year. And it was kind of funny because Trimble again was on the 4x1. And he strained a muscle and lost his spot to another gentleman who was on the team, Burton from Panama. And as a result of straining his leg, Trimble challenged the team to run against him to run. Now, I never sprinted. I ran hurdles, but they didn't use me as a sprinter. So then Coach Trimble said, I'm going to run against Burton because I want to get his spot. LSU run against the second leg, third leg, didn't even matter. But the B team beat the A team that had Larry on it. And we didn't beat them once, we beat them twice. And Coach said that must be a fluke. So he asked us to run it again. So Trimble and Burton ran leg for leg, stride for stride, and handed off to me on the second leg. And the first time, the guy who I beat on the second leg twice already said he wasn't really running because it wasn't about him. It was really about Trimble beating Burton. So why would he run? So now I'm really nervous. And what happens when you get nervous? You get that, you start getting anxious, and that's fuel. Anxiousness is not bad. Anxiousness is fuel. So now when I stood back and waited for that baton to come in, I put that hand back, and the next thing you know, I beat him by 15 yards, and Coach said, all right, a fluke 2 times, but 3 times is not a fluke. LSU on the relay team. And from that point on, I ran on our 4x1, and they put me on the 4x4, so we won. So Coach Walker was right. And then I looked at a clip that my aunt sent me, and it said that Coach Snyder says I was forever captain of Mississippi College track team on that award. So just know, I'm your captain, Coach. All right, then the second Joe came into my life, a guy named Joe Miskelin. I was a struggling insurance agent, trying to be a financial advisor, trying to figure it out, and everything was set up wrong. How was it set up wrong? It was set up wrong because the system was you make a big commission, starve, make another big commission, starve, make another big commission. It wasn't the right way to do things. But Joe Miskelin came along and talked about recurring revenue, selling products that allowed you to get an income the second year, the third year, the fourth year, the fifth year. And I got excited because that made sense to me. And as a result of that, I became #1 at National Life, first person to do $1 million in sales. And I was happy about that. But I told them, I said, hey guys, I didn't really bring home $1 million. So y'all need to fix the system so that if I do $1 million, I bring home $1 million. And they listened and they fixed the system. So then I went and got my securities license, which I had them, but we wasn't using them, and I started managing money. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I started managing more people's money and more people's money and got $100 million and $200 million under management. And that was real sexy. Because you don't have to go out and kill anything. You get to eat every day. And I was like, oh, this is the way to do it. And that brought me to, my first Joe was Joe Walker. My second Joe was Joe Miskelin. And then there's a guy named Joe Carnett. Remember when the movie Trading Places came out, Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd? Well, Dan Aykroyd was a guy named Joe Carnett. And Joe wanted to interview him and Eddie Murphy. He needed somebody to be his pitch man. So I came in for the interview, and Joe said, Ellis, you're my guy. He said, but the bank ain't never hired a black guy. So we got to fix this. So here's what I'm going to do. I got this really, really pretty blonde girl, blue eyes, that came in. She is beautiful, not dead gorgeous. I'm going to have her come first, speak to the manager. I'm going to have this nerdy guy, white guy, who wears glasses. He is smart as a whip, but he has no personality. And then I'm going to have you come in, Mrs. Smooth, cool, styling, profiling. So it worked. And the manager looked at me and looked at Joe, looked back at me, looked back at Joe, and he said, y'all set me up, didn't you? And Joe said, yeah, we did. He said, Alice, I got one question for you. If a client comes in with $200,000 to invest, what are you supposed to tell them? Now, the answer, if you study all your material, is you're supposed to tell them to give you $50,000 more and get a break point. They get a discount. Well, nobody ever answers that question right. I answered it right. And he says, oh, I know the fix is in now. Joe never got asked the question, so he didn't have the question to answer to begin with. All right, so 3 ordinary Joes kicked the door open and made it possible for me to be on this stage tonight. Because otherwise, I'd have got back in bed and covered up my head. That's called depression, right? You get in bed every day and cover up your head. You're depressed. So somebody has to make it possible. But let me show you how powerful education is. And Mississippi College made a huge difference. But let me go back before Mississippi College. Janet Lee and Dr. Lee. You familiar with Dr. Lee? Dr. Lee's wife worked at my high school. And she worked on us being proficient at English. And she told us how important it was and how many doors it would open up. And I found that that's absolutely true. It has opened up many doors. But even before I got to Miss Lee, I had to overcome something that many people don't overcome. When my mother was 3 years old, her mother and father died. She had 2 sisters. My uncle's here tonight. His mother, who had 7 children already, 8, 10 children already, took in my mother, and the other 2 girls were almost ready to get married, so it was easy. Took in my mother as a 3-year-old and raised her as her own. Willie Simmons, will you stand up? This is the Commissioner, Transportation. And his daughter's here, who's the first female to hold the Senate seat that she sits in from up north Mississippi. Stand up, Sarita. It is so important to have powerful examples in your life of what success looks like. So when I came up with the title, Success Starts at Mississippi College, it really started in my grandmother's house. We used to walk down the street selling vegetables that they raised in the fields. Yo, sweet potato boy. That worked on my voice. But yeah, we started early. So just know that no one's standing on their own shoulders. Today we took a picture in front of Provine Hall, 200 years. There's a picture that was taken 100 years ago, right? 100 years ago. Sitting to my right was a gentleman whose father was in that picture. Graduated college over 100 years ago. And I just want to do a quick survey. If you're 200 years of Mississippi College history is multiple generations of graduates, right? If your granddaddy graduated college, raise your hand. If your daddy and mother graduated college, raise your hand. If you were the first person in your family to go to college, raise your hand. And my sister's here. Her son went to Mississippi College. Jabari, I want you to stand up. You see, my sister sent her son here because I think she was impressed with her brother. And I say I think, because my sister has always been smarter than me. So I'll admit it. So what I'm trying to say is that you follow successful examples. I followed my uncle, my nephew followed me, and you continue to follow what you can see. But those ordinary Joes I told you about, when Joe Walker recruited me, he had brought the first black student, black athletes, Calvin Home and Willie Powell, to this campus. And he had just brought them here. My class was just 3 classes later after they got here. So they came here, the first black athletes, and it wasn't that you couldn't recruit black athletes, it was unspoken. Nobody did. How do you wait to 1969, 70 to have your first black athletes? Schools have been integrated. Mississippi College graduated the first female graduate came from Mississippi College in the state of Mississippi. So they had a history of doing things that were different. It's just that it wasn't recruiting blacks. Now, did some people make it possible for, when I came here, I don't have a single bad experience from Mississippi College. But how is that possible? Because there's some people who did. There's some people who got looked down their nose, who were Christians, who looked down their nose at other students that didn't look like them, and unfortunately said nasty things to them. I realize that I stand on those kids' shoulders. Those students who were here before me, who made it possible for today, when I got here, they had already corrected some of those ills and made it possible for me to say, I had a good experience. So just know, the panel that's going to represent today, this panel is here because they graduated Mississippi College and they had some good experiences. And they want to share those experiences with you. And more importantly, I want to thank everyone who came out here tonight because you all look beautiful in the audience. And we'll have a picture of it, but you look beautiful. And you're going to be able to go to the Southern Storytelling website and watch tonight's. And hopefully they'll capture some of you guys that are in the audience so you can see yourself. We have a number of people before I introduce the panel and get started. We have a number of alumni or people who just came here for one semester. If you could you please stand up and let the audience recognize you for your accomplishment? Stand up. Alumni. I guess I was supposed to say the black students, Jim. I'm sorry. But thanks for standing up, Jim. Yeah. All right, so we're going to start with the first video for you. Mr. Larry Myers couldn't be here tonight. He's going to tell you why in the video, so I'm not going to tell you. I'll just talk to you after the video. So if you would, we're going to turn the lights down a bit, and you're going to watch Larry Myers.
Well, good evening, everybody. It is nice to almost be there. I was really looking forward to coming and being a part of this event because for a lot of us there and a lot of you there, you'll find out later that success really does start at Mississippi College. It certainly did for me. Oftentimes, we make plans to do things, be places, but life, changes that for us and sends us off in a different direction. About a week and a half ago, my wife and I were enjoying a quiet lunch and Netflix movie, and she started having these weird symptoms that were mimicking a stroke. And so about 20 minutes after all that started, in a 911 call, she's in the back of the emergency vehicle on her way to the hospital. And I'm packing up grandkids and trying to get there so I can see what's going on. And long story short is she was having stroke symptoms. Turns out they discovered a large tumor on the side of her brain. Thank God it was benign. But they told us that she would be having brain surgery the next day. So we went from 2 o'clock watching Netflix on a Wednesday to 8:30 a.m. Thursday morning, and she's getting wheeled into an operating room to get her head cut open. That was very disconcerting and scary and all those things. But praise God, she's well and she's recovering well. So I'm here because I got to be here to take care of that part of my existence. I'll say I love her to death, so I need to make sure she's okay as best I can. But I wanted to talk about why I chose Mississippi College. And I'd love to be able to say that when I first heard about the school, I started researching to see if it had the right major for me, to see who the coach was, to see if it was a great track program. But that's what you should do, when you're looking for a school, if it's for track and field. Otherwise, you're looking at majors and things. But that's not what I did. I did nothing close to that. I chose MC out of frustration, to be honest. And I've told this story many times. And I was highly recruited as a high school athlete. And, having college recruiters show up at your house all times of day, all times of night, getting phone calls, getting mail. And it was a lot. It was a lot. And I went to Forest Hill High School, and Coach Joe Walker's father, Joe Walker Sr., was a principal. And so from 9th grade on, he had been telling me about Mississippi College, And so in my senior year, I'm sitting in class one day, and he called me into his office, and said, look, let me call my son, and would you please sign a letter of intent to go to Mississippi College? And I said, you know what, call him. Yeah, let's get this over with. But, you know, a decision made out of haste and frustration was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made. And I have no complaints at all about my time at Mississippi College. As a matter of fact, I think of the things I learned and how I grew as an individual and what carried over into other aspects of my life, personal, professional, my family life. One of the first lessons I learned was to be a person of integrity and to honor and keep your commitments. I made a commitment when I signed that scholarship to go to Mississippi College, and I committed to be the best athlete I can be. And I did that first semester. I sure did, but I didn't do that in class, so I wasn't the best student athlete. Grades were basically in the toilet, to put it lightly. And I was told if you didn't get them straight, get them up, you'd be out of here. I was told you're a good athlete, you can be great, but it won't happen here because, you know, your scholarships are mean to an end. It's to help you get an education so you can go out and be a productive member of society and take care of your family. So I straightened up, I flew right, I graduated. I didn't graduate with honors, but I got out. I'll just leave it at that. Grades weren't bad, but it was an awesome experience for me. Since leaving Mississippi College, I was a four-time Olympian. I am a four-time Olympian, I should say. Got medals, gold, silver, and bronze medals in every national and international track and field competition that exists, basically. I was able to travel the world and see a lot of things, meet a lot of people, made a lot of great friends, and it was at a special time. Those are some especially fun, good years and chapter in life. And over the course of that same period of time, I also worked full-time, off-season, part-time, you know, during season. I've worked in banking and in aerospace and the family entertainment business, youth fundraising for, you know, schools and elementary schools, junior high school, colleges and such. And I think I made some decent contributions. At least I hope I did. Was hoping to be there because I was looking forward to seeing some of my old teammates, old friends. You know, you guys have probably already met them. If you haven't, please find them and just say hello to them. But yeah, I would shout out to, you know, Bobby Stewart, Ricky Griffith, James Trimble, Robert Hill, Willie Price, Ellis Liddell, Hayden Maggie, you'll see her a little bit later. And those are special friends, you know, and you'll find as you go through your time at Mississippi College, if you're a student, and that you'll meet some people who will be friends, and they'll be friends for life. And, you know, some won't, that's just kind of the way it goes. But I don't want to be the cause of you guys being sitting out there for any longer than you have to. So let me just close. I want to give a shout out to Coach Schneider and the cross country and track and field team. And just want to congratulate you guys for the awesome results you're doing. You guys are representing the college well and keep making us proud. And Coach Schneider's a heck of a guy. I've liked him and come to appreciate him since the first time I met him. And I know he's creating an environment where those young people under his leadership are going to not only be the best athletes they can be, but they're going to be the best people that they can be. And that to me is the most important thing, you know, when it's all said and done. So thank you so much to the committee for allowing me to be a part of it this way. And I don't know if I'll be around for the next 200 one, but you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. And you see I got my Choctaw hat on. I'm serious about my college. Y'all take care, and I appreciate you. Thank you for your time.
lights back on. So Larry and I have been friends for 50 years. And the only way that friendship came about is because Larry's best friend from kindergarten all the way through till he got to Mississippi College was Willie Cooper. Willie, stand up. And then Fifi, Felicia Cooper, stand up as well. Let them see your face. So Willie came on campus one day to see Larry, and this young lady caught his eye. And then he started coming to campus, and he didn't call Larry, because this young lady caught his eye. And the next thing I know, Fifi was talking about buying diamonds, rings, and things like that, and Larry and I was like, we didn't even got nobody going to marry. But here, her and Willie got married, so they've been married, how many years now? 46 years. Which echoes the theme, success begins at Mississippi College. All right, we're going to bring out the panel. Let's start with Maggie Wade, news anchor, WLBT. Maggie? All right, we're going to follow Maggie up with, let me cheat. Regina Schofield. We're going to follow that with the tallest person on stage, Aaron Fizel. He was a quarterback at Mississippi College when he was here. Last but not least, the founder and repurpose of BSA Plus and started Multicultural Student Association, Cameron Johnson. All right, so again, thank you all for coming, and this is a beautiful audience. I am so happy to have you here. We're going to start with Maggie, who juggled and made it possible to get here from the TV station. A lot of people are going through flu these days, and Maggie got here. She said, I'm going to be there, and she was committed. Now, Maggie and I go back to when we were kids. We go back. She lived in, were you in Chapel Hill?
No, but our bus came through Chapel Hill.
Your bus came through Chapel Hill.
We were on Tank Road.
Tank Road?
Yes.
Is that even a city? No.
No, you know, we have one of those crazy, our mail came through Crystal Springs, but we were actually in Hinds County.
Okay.
So I had to go to school in Utica. So that's how you and I connected.
Got it.
So yes, I went to school in Utica.
Okay. So Maggie and I share a person, Queen Esther Mims.
Yes.
And Miss Mims. Oh, all right. Well, you share with her too then.
Yes.
So she was a school teacher and she did other things, but that took Maggie and I back. And Miss Mims trained Maggie and I how to be gentlemen and ladies early in life.
Yes.
And it's amazing that I think this is our Maggie and I first time seeing each other in 49 years.
A long time.
Right, right. And we both still look good.
Yes. Thank you.
So Maggie, if you would, tell them about your Mississippi College experience.
Oh, wow. It was truly a blessing. My real name is Magnolia, and I think I threw everybody off because they were looking for Maggie Wade on all the yearbooks and everything, and it's Magnolia, which is my real name. And so I'll say this is where I really bloomed and blossomed. Because it was a family here. I had instructors, Amy Brand. I don't know how many of you remember Amy Brand, who was in the marketing department. She became a dear friend. But every instructor, every professor felt like they had a vested interest in you being successful. And they poured that into us. They poured it into me. One of my classmates, Jim Turcott, is here, one of my heroes. I love Jim. And every single person along that path, even when I was in the business school and then started working with Regina at the radio station, we both did that at WHJT, and I had no idea I was going to be in television, but the Todds and Dr. Lytle, I'm telling you, it was amazing how they poured into me. And Dr. Lytle, when I got the weather job, I was like, Dr. Lytle, you know this is not what I'm going to do. I'm going to law school. And he was like, really? He said, because you really seem like you have some talent in this. And he cheered for me and encouraged me. And even though I was awful when I started doing weather, because of the support from Mississippi College, so many people here, my classmates, and people like Queen Esther Wolfe Mims, it made a difference, and it made me believe. And the faith, let me tell you, going to chapel and my Bible classes, how many of you love chapel and Bible classes? I did. I mean, I never missed chapel. I loved going to chapel.
We couldn't miss chapel.
You couldn't miss it, exactly. And, but I loved chapel. I loved going and hearing the speakers, and it helped with my faith. It helped grow me and stretch me. And so I am so grateful for every experience here at Mississippi College.
Tell us this, what does success look like to you?
Success looks like service. You know, when I first started in television, I thought it was about the stories that I was doing. I thought it was like, oh my gosh, I'm Maggie Wade from Crystal Springs, Mississippi, and I'm on TV. And God showed me that every blessing, everything that he pours into us, we are to pour into other people. And so for me, success is nothing without service. It's all about what you give back. And once I started doing that, once I learned my purpose was to be a servant to God's people. That was what success looks like, feels like, and is for me.
When did you realize what you had reached the pinnacle of what you were aiming for? Because I think a lot of people don't know when to celebrate.
Oh, wow. I grow every day. I always say I'm glad that I've lived long enough. I'm older. I'm older than you. Good, that's good. But I'm glad that God has blessed me to live long enough where I don't live to prove myself to people, but I do live to improve myself every single day. So I think as long as we're alive, we can still keep striving to do better and to be better, especially my heart is with children. And so I want to inspire every single child that I can. And I don't think you can stop growing and stop succeeding as long as you're willing to learn and to pour into our babies.
You've already answered this slightly, but I want you to go a little deeper. Looking back at your time at Mississippi College, just tell us a little bit about what you took with you and you still hold on to this day.
I took with me that there's nothing more powerful than prayer, that there's nothing stronger in our life than faith, and that there's nothing greater than God. And holding on to those things in the hardest times and difficulty in the storms, it has given me what I needed to keep going. And I have to say, one of the things that I also love about MC, Dr. Thompson, I met Dr. Thompson, and when I left MC, when I got the job at WLBT, I was a senior here. And I had 3 more classes before I graduated, but I thought I was grown, and I had a job, and so I put it off. And I kept trying to come back. Jim Turcotte cheered for me, and when I met Dr. Thompson didn't stop. He said, you've done everything you're supposed to. And that's why I was able to go ahead and get my paper and say, I'm officially an alum of Mississippi College, and that meant so much to me. And that's the kind of place this is. And that means a lot. Everybody doesn't get that in other places, but you get that here. So that's why, again, everything that I'm so grateful for so much. I would be here all night if I told you everything I was grateful for, but I'm truly grateful for my Mississippi College family.
All right, well, thank you for that.
Yes.
Next up is Regina Schofield. Regina, as you can see when Maggie was trying to talk, Regina's not short for words. It was subtle, but it was impactful. So Regina, tell us about your Mississippi College experience.
We were suite mates too.
Really?
Yes, we were suite mates here.
Yeah. And from the first day Maggie went on the radio, you could tell she had the voice. So she may say she didn't know what she was doing, but she came off really well.
Thank you.
What was your question, Ellis?
Tell us about your Mississippi College experience, other than Maggie's Sweetmate.
Well, don't you think that was the most important thing?
Absolutely.
Okay. I went to the School of Business, and so from a very early age, I was always really interested in the bottom line. Don't have any $200 million clients in my world. Instead, I serve kids. So what I learned at Mississippi College and what my experience was you're always in a place where you can be authentic. I never felt like I needed to be anybody else at Mississippi College except for who I was. So Warren Conway's in the audience and can tell you that I was just as stubborn today as I was then. My cousin, who I followed to Mississippi College, J.B. Brown Jr., like almost anybody can tell you that this is a place where you can flourish, and you don't have to be intimidated by who you are, because there are people that nurtured you along the way. There were people that allowed you to make mistakes without calling you out about it. There were teachers that really cared about you, and so it is a place of intimacy around having an alma mater that really nourishes you. And the student population was, I thought, just the perfect size. I know it's bigger, everybody wants to be bigger, but it is a bigger university with a small university with a big heart, as I would say, and it's just as impactful today as it was when we went so many decades ago that we don't even need to put a number to it.
Excuse me. Tell me what success looks like to you.
Success for me is approaching a task or a goal or chairing a board or having a job that you can assume with a quiet confidence. I am very much a believer that God has given us talents, and we must use them as the way He wants us to. And so that does require interior work. It requires prayer, because I do believe that we're held accountable at some point, and that we must do our best. So success to me is assuming that task with a quiet confidence and knowing that no matter what happens, you've got it. And there's somebody that's got your back. He's not here.
Yeah, you touched on it. You touched on it, but I want you to just delve a little deep. God and faith in your role in your life.
I am not, you're not going to hear me talk about my faith a lot to individuals in a group setting, but I can have a very long conversation with you about how God has touched my life. My mother was very much a role model, was in the church all the time, Acts Sunday school, choir, ushering, all the things you don't want to do, and you don't really realize that it's creating a path for you until you choose to come to a school like Mississippi College, where you're not ashamed of your faith, even if you don't want to live it out loud. And so for me, when those moments of crises have come, I have a deep well of familiarity with the path that my mother laid out for me, but also with so many people that I came across here. But in my church life also, once I left Mississippi College, it's like you're prepared to continue to follow your faith. In today's society, you know, you can be made fun of because you believe in God. But I say that's a mistake. Like, grow and live in your faith. And like Maggie said, it is a journey every day. I was reading a scripture the other day that said, you know, we talk about what's unclean that comes into your mouth, and it was like what is unclean comes out of your mouth. And most of you that know me know that I can be a little bit of a smart aleck. And so I try to make sure that I can still be a smart aleck, but I don't have to use my tongue to be hurtful. And especially in these times when it seems like people take joy in saying cruel things, let's not be cruel. Let's live in our faith, and let's remember that God wants us to be kind, and His mercy and His love is enduring. And so that is my faith journey every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
All right. Tell me this. Because we're in a world that success is so different for everybody, and everybody has a different definition of success, how did you know you had arrived at success?
I haven't.
All right. Tell us about that journey.
Until the day I go into the ground, I'm not done. Some of you saw a snippet of me. I had a pretty tough job once at the U.S. Department of Justice, and I traveled a lot. My child was a newborn. And for you men that don't want to know about women who breast milk, I breastfed and pumped milk all the way across the country, shipped it back, came home, nursed my kid, went out. And after that 2.5 years, I thought, if I'm going to spend this much time away from my kids pursuing other careers, it will be to help kids who are not as successful as my kids and our kids. And what does that look like? And so I have intentionally chosen positions and left money on the table in some places because I really want to make sure that we're helping kids. Maggie and I were talking about foster care. I care about kids from a different vantage point. We still care about kids. I don't want kids harmed, and there are some mean people in this world. And my job, I feel like, with all the tools that God has given me, is to make sure that every child I come across, I can help have a safe childhood. And so that means a lot to me, and that's success. And I won't be done until the day I die.
All right, thank you for that. All right, Aaron, let's get a little testosterone back into this conversation. Yeah. So, Aaron, tell us about your journey here at Mississippi College.
Yeah.
Quarterback.
So,
Wow.
I was very fortunate. I was afforded the opportunity to come to Mississippi College on a scholarship to play football. And, you know, it's funny, when I first got here, I told myself I really wanted to focus on two things. I wanted to focus on being the best football player I could be and having a 4.0 GPA. And
how'd that work out for you? No, I'm just kidding.
Neither one of them went the way I wanted them to go. But I had an excellent experience, and you know, I'll dive into my experience a little bit. But the biggest thing for me about Mississippi College was people, and the intentionality, Maggie, as you kind of alluded to, just with not just my professors, but staff members, classmates. I mean, some of my best friends. I'm fortunate. I'm getting married later this year, and most of the groomsmen outside of my biological brother and my best friend from high school are guys that I met at Mississippi College.
Awesome.
So, you know, that's just, thank you. Thank you. So for me, you know, my 4 years were all about people and relationships and people just being genuine with me. So came in, played football, got involved early, had the opportunity. There were some people, some of which are in the audience, saw some talent in me, not to be on radio, but to work in the writing center. So I was fortunate to kind of get a start there. Worked in the writing center as a tutor. And my best friend, who wasn't able to make it tonight, Anthony Jackson, my sophomore year, towards the end of my sophomore year, approached me with this opportunity and asked me if I wanted to assist him and serve on the Student Government Association as his chief of staff. And I told him no probably 4 or 5 times. And then he told me that it came with a few dollars in my pocket, and I was all about it. And, you know, I will say my junior year serving as the chief of staff and my senior year being afforded the opportunity to serve as a Student Government Association president were probably 2 of the best experiences that I've had in my life. And, you know, I have a great job now at the University of Oklahoma working for the football team there. And things are great there. But I just think, you know, for me, those experiences, as well as with the people, the instructors, again, staff members here, really laid the foundation for me just to navigate life, you know, as a professional, as a man. I was someone that knew about God, but didn't really know God. You know, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were kind of asking me about my faith walk, and I explained to them, you know, before I got to Mississippi College, it was more of a religion as opposed to a relationship for me. And just being around good people, intentional people that kind of talk to me about the Lord, certainly grew in my faith there. So, you know, my time at Mississippi College was great. Like I said, a lot of good people, a lot of good memories. I'm proud to tell people that I'm from Mississippi College. People assume just because I'm at the University of Oklahoma in a unique role that I maybe played Division I football or knew somebody that was on the staff before, and it's
always funny. I say, oh, I went to Mississippi College. I said, oh, Ole Miss?
Right.
I said, no. Mississippi State? I said, no, I went to Mississippi College. So it's always an opportunity for me to
The best
talk
school,
about
right?
No doubt.
The best school.
Talk about the university and talk about the great people. So.
Right. All right. Tell us a little bit about what you do in your job, because NIL, name, image, and likeness, is huge now. And players, I had a player come into my office, $12 million was his contract he signed. And just to offset that, another player came in who signed a $250,000 contract. You look at the two athletes, you go, y'all look alike. But one of them's ranked, one's a 5-star, other one was a 2-star. The 5-star got a $12 million contract. So, well, Maggie, and a few other things, but but it worked out well for you. So tell us about NIL, and for those who don't understand it, just kind of break it down and help us to understand why an athlete's worth $12 million versus $250,000. Give us, because you deal with, what's your budget?
A lot. Not near as much as yours, but
Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I have the privilege to serve as the Director of Finance for the University of Oklahoma football team. So within that role, I oversee really outside of fixed dollar amounts like salaries, I oversee all of that money. So that alludes from our operating budget, how much money we're going to spend on helmets, shoulder pads, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, anything you can think of relative to a football department. And then I also have the privilege to work hand in hand with our scouting staff and our roster management, building, and everything that goes with that. So I've been super fortunate to really have really good insight into what a Division I blue blood college football program looks like, just because I know at the baseline, you know, you talked about bottom line, I know what that bottom line is. And so I really provide guidance to all of our departments, including the head coach, general manager, serve as a liaison to our business office and athletic director, and just make sure that we're kind of staying where we need to from a budgetary standpoint while also providing some insight. So
tell me about, no, you can't go into detail, my bad. I was going to ask him about their $12 million athlete, but I'm not going to do that. So just tell us how you arrive at a 250 versus a 12 million.
Yeah, it's really just completely subjective, to be honest with you. The market for college football players I can speak to specifically is totally subjective. It's on the basis of demand. There's not years of data to refer to say that this player is worth X and this player is worth Y. It almost gets into a bidding war. And that can be on the basis of a guy performing at a high level at the high school or the collegiate level, or it couldn't be. Sometimes guys get paid based on potential. So it fluctuates. You know, we try and do a good job on our staff to watch tape, evaluate character backgrounds, just make sure that these guys are young men of integrity, young men of character, guys that we know are going to come to work every day, be ready to grind. And it really just depends on that. You know, it's interesting because it's so chaotic. It's the wild, wild west. So you can't really lose yourself chasing the 5 stars when he might have 1-star talent or 1-star character or 1-star integrity. So that's what's really unique about the position that I'm in. It's so new. There's not really borders around it. So everybody's trying to figure out how to operate the right way.
Okay. All right. 5-star, 1-star. Integrity. That's the word I heard the most was integrity.
That's what it's about.
They didn't have integrity in mind when they created the portal, I don't think. A lot of athletes go into the portal to see what they can get, you know? So they didn't have that in mind. Aaron, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. All right, last but not least, Cameron Johnson. Tell us about your Mississippi College experience.
So, started back in little. I've always wanted to be a nurse. I said I want to be a nurse. My mom's a nurse. And about junior year in high school, that did not work out. Saw a video and I said, no, that is not my ministry. And so I prayed about it. And I was like, God, I have no idea what I'm doing. You have to show me. And so this was about the end of my junior year, going into my senior year. One night I had a dream that I got an acceptance letter from Mississippi College and I was majoring in math. And so I literally followed that dream here.
There
Before
are people in the Bible who were dreamers.
Yeah. There-
Quite a few of them.
Yeah, you're right. And so when I got here, or before I got here, I knew it was something in store for me. I was not as involved in high school as I was here at MC, and so I just wanted to do something different. So got here, was like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. Then I met Aaron, and then it kind of just exploded from there. But the people here who I connected with, who I served with, who I ended up meeting, like they had a very influential part of my MC story here. So I graduated from here, and then I loved it so much, I had an extra semester here, and then I worked 2 years here as well, and kind of just sharing my MC story to
You
all
just
of
didn't
you.
want to leave, huh?
I did not want to leave until I did, but I really enjoyed my time here at MC, but it was a very, very huge part in just shaping who I am today.
Got it. All right, what made you want to start the multicultural group?
So, my freshman year here at MC, like I said, I was not very involved in high school, so I wanted to kind of dabble in different things. But I knew there wasn't an organization for students of color, specifically Black students, is where it started. And so I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, I need to talk to some people. At this time, I knew Aaron, I knew Anthony, and I was like, oh, do we have any of these organizations here? And at the time, we did not. And I wasn't really as social as I am now when I started here at MC. But I just knew that I wanted a place where I knew I could kick my feet up and be myself and have real conversations with people. And so my sophomore year, the summer before my sophomore year, I started doing some research on how to start an organization. I was literally flipping through yearbooks trying to see if there was any other organization similar to MSA. And that is when I saw the VSA Plus. And I said, oh, so we have had something like that here. Let's see if we can get it started up. It originally started as the Minority Student Association, but after having a conversation with Dr. Ambrose, he was like, I don't want y'all to think of yourself as a minority student.
Awesome.
You are made of different cultures, so let's try to change that. And so that's how we spent it from Minority Student Association to Multicultural Student Association. In the first year, it thrived, it boomed, but I was the founder. I did not want to be the president. And I kind of was in the president role for 2-ish years. But I knew it was something that God had put on my heart because as I was working through it and working through all the questions and kind of the backlash and all those things, I constantly prayed, God, if this is not for your glory, shut it down. But if this is for you and for your glory and for your kingdom, let it thrive. And right now, they're still thriving, they're still moving, and so that's how MSA came to be.
Now, I also know that you did a lot of research to look up history.
I did.
Tell us about that.
Yes. So, 2019, I was in a conversation with some people, and they were saying that 2020 was the 50th year that MC had been integrated. I said, 2020? I said, 50? My dad's going to be 50 this year. So it's like trying to do the math, you know, the math major in me was doing the math. And so when I was thinking about that, I was like, okay, so if it's 50 years, let's see who's the first Black student. So Google search, Google failed me that day. And so that's when I literally rabbit hole. I was looking up who was the first students, looking back at the BSA Plus. I found multiple names. Willie Price was one, Calvin Holmes was one, Mary Watson was one, Geraldine Butler was one. And so throughout that time, and I was just doing this for fun. This was a hobby that I was like very interested in, but it was personal to me because without those trailblazers and those forewarners, I wouldn't have been here myself. And so that's why it was personal for me. And so I did like 30-ish pages of research, I think. Spent a lot of times in the archives with Miss Heather, and kind of just seeing this all happen tonight is kind of like a wow moment for me.
Rewarding. Give her a hand. All right, Maggie, I'm going to pop back over to you, and I'd like for you to give us some closing remarks.
Wow. My son actually got his master's degree from here in biomedical sciences, and when he was deciding which program he wanted to do, he came and he asked me about Mississippi College, and he said, should I go to MC or should I go somewhere else? And I said, well, definitely MC, but I said, let me tell you why. And I said, I've tried to raise you. I haven't tried to fix you because that's not my job. My job is to give you the tools that you need with God's help to fix yourself. I said, but if you go to Mississippi College, they're going to put so much in that toolbox that you can use that it will take you far in life. And not only when it comes to your career, but also as a man. And I said, they're just going to reinforce everything that your dad and I have tried to pour into you already. He came here, he loved it. He's now a medical engineer in Chicago, Illinois. He's been there 8 years. He loves what he does, but he never forgets his time here. So as a parent, and now as a grandparent, my granddaughter is 13, what I wanted for him and what I want for her and all children is to be in a place like this, where you see the love of God, you feel the love of God, but you also get that education, but you get the tools that you need. And again, I came here, they didn't fix me, and nobody tried to fix me, but they gave me the tools that I needed with God's help to fix myself.
Amen.
And that's a blessing.
Regina, if you would, give us some closing remarks.
That was not on your list of questions, by the way. You can tell Ellis is tightly scripted, but now he's just kind of letting us run amok up here. Closing remarks. Thank you all for being here. It is always wonderful to come back. It is home, and I hope all of you think that is the same. It's a place of joy, and it is a place where if you've had tears, and we've all had those experiences, you know that someone is there to support you. Your roommate, your suite mate, your classmate, your teachers, and the administrators. And there are a lot of schools that kids do not have access to the administrators. And so I will say again, this is a place that lives up to its name. A place I enjoy coming home to, and I'm just so grateful for each and every one of you.
For you not to be ready, that was pretty good. All right, Aaron.
Yeah, it's hard to follow these two. They've said a lot of the same things that I would echo. And first and foremost, I appreciate the African American Studies Department for providing me the opportunity and having the consideration to invite me to this event, and appreciate all of you, taking some time out of your evening to be here and show your support. I would just say that Mississippi College is a special place, and what was funny for me is I flew in today, and I was on campus earlier, and I know the bicentennial events are going on. They were postponed due to the weather. And just being flooded with so many people. I was talking to Dr. Thompson earlier with professors and staff members, again, like I alluded to, that were here before, that I had the opportunity to reconnect with, and it kind of opened up my memory bank. That's a little foggy because I got hit a lot playing football.
Oh, we didn't mean to laugh, sorry.
But again, just Mississippi College is a special place because of the people and the intentionality behind the people that pour into you in all different facets of your life. Again, just want to thank you guys for being out here tonight, and I'm so blessed and honored to be able to be here.
Thank you. Last but not least, the youngest among us. Cameron?
Echoing what my distinguished panelists have said, thank y'all so much for being here tonight. Like I said, this is just an amazing awarding moment for me, just seeing all of you all come out this evening. I see a lot of the students who I have recruited. I see, yep, there's one. I see a lot of the professors who I wasn't even in their classes, but they had their door open for me. I see all of the people who I know if I need them, they are in my corner. And so I just want to thank y'all so much and continue to grow. Continue to strive for your success. Like Maggie and Regina said, like we are continuing to grow every single day. So continue to grow. Be good stewards of what God has given you, your talent, your people, your time, places that He will connect you with. And just watch Him do the most amazing things for you. So thank y'all so much for being here tonight.
Thank you. Before I say what Larry wanted me to close with, and before I want to recognize Joyce Beecham, who helped get the word out, and she brought a contingent from Vicksburg, Loretta, and Vicky, and many others that she told about it. Leon couldn't make it tonight. Some of the football players remember Leon Ripley. He wanted to come, but he had an incident that didn't allow him to get here. So Larry and I talked, and you don't get 50 years of friendship. We met at Mississippi College. So just a short story. Larry and I hung out every single day for 2 years. Every day. And one day we came from the mall, and Larry and I were walking, and he put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, Ellis, I really consider you a friend. And I paused for a minute. He knocked on my door at midnight to go to the truck stop and get a hamburger. This is the guy I went to the mall with. This is the guy I went to his mama's house. He just considered me a friend. But I come to realize that friendship should never be assumed. The person who's your friend should tell you that you're their friend. Because if they don't tell you you're their friend, guess what? You might not be their friend. They might not consider you a friend. So Larry and I took a class while we were here, and it was on golf, tennis, handball, all the different sports, because we realized one day we had to stop running track, and we had to do something. So we settled on golf. And Larry and I went to play golf, and he's watching this from home, so I'm sure he's laughing. So one day I hit the ball, it hit off the wall, hit a rock, and went in the hole. Hole in one. I told Larry, I said, you can't beat me and God. Not today. So over 50 years, we've had a lot of things to laugh about. And, you know, Larry was a great athlete. You make 4 Olympic teams. I remember we moved to Tallahassee together, and Larry asked me, he said, hey, man, I got an opportunity to go to L.A. Do you want to go to L.A. with me? And Felicia, I had walked around from church, went to the same church, to the apartment complex we lived in, and people say, how's your friend doing? You know, they got a long jump, Larry. I said, do you even know my name? So I turned Larry down for the trip to LA. I just said, no, I'll stay in Tallahassee. I'll create my own place, because I lived in his shadow for so many years. And everybody has to make the decision. One day you want to come out from under somebody's shadow and become your own person. But I still kept cheering for Larry. I called him up and I said, hey man, you broke the indoor world record. Congratulations. So I stayed his cheerleader for his 20-plus year career. And then when Larry retired from track and field, he started cheering for me. He said, man, I hear you started your company. So 25 years ago, I started ELE Wealth Management. There's quite a few people who work for us. And he started cheering for me. He said, hey man, what are you doing? What are you doing for your people? And I remember taking my entire staff, 11 people at the time, to the Rolex store. And I bought everybody a Rolex. I didn't buy me one. I bought them one to say thank you, because a client came in who had a Timex watch, who retired from Sears. And at the time when she got that Timex, it was like a Rolex. So I said, wouldn't it be nice to buy people a Rolex? So I took them to the store. I went in beforehand and figured it all out and cost out and picked out the right. One lady likes purple. I wanted her Rolex to have a purple face. And I picked all these things out so that when the staff got there, they would be totally surprised. And before I took them to the Rolex store, I took them to a movie theater. and we watched a great movie, and I said, let's go to lunch. But on our way to lunch, let's just stop by the store and see what they have in Rolex store. We never go in here. Let's just go in there. So when they walked in the store, they had a section of the store that was closed, and it said, Welcome ELE Wealth Management. And every one of my staff members had their name plaque in front of a watch. And they just screamed and hollered. And they captured it and put it on social media. But as Regina said, and Maggie echoed, and Cameron projected into the future, and Aaron talked about, before he talked about getting hit on the head. The life that we live is not about us. It's about the difference that we made while we were here. And tonight, this was the first of a story, Chronicles of African American Success. You got next. Whoever wants to do it next year, I promise to come back. I don't have to even be the MC. I'll just show up and sit in the audience. But somebody get next. It can be someone on stage too, by the way. But we need to do this because it's been 50 years since some of us saw each other. And that's a long time. And there were a lot of friendships that were made. And a lot of us learned from other people. Joyce and I go back almost the entire 50 years, probably 49. So it's a long time to be in a friendship. Now, Joyce and I stayed in touch. I wasn't that kind of friend. But not everybody did. And you saw some people tonight that you hadn't seen, you reconnected, and the hope is that you'll stay connected. Gouda walked in looking just like he did 49 years ago. Well, Gouda said not quite, but close. But he's a guy that made a difference, and everybody here in the audience made a difference to somebody. But if they don't see you, they can't tell you thank you for showing them the way and making a difference. So you all chose to come out tonight and spend time with us, and we want to thank you for making a difference. Thank you. Good night. Making a difference.